share some brief thoughts. Here's the quote. It is from numberless diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice. He sends forth a tiny ripple of hope and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring. Those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest wall of oppression and resistance. The ripples are literally everywhere right now. We need to wake up. This is me now, not the quote. That was Robert Kennedy. We need to wake up. We have to chip away at racism with our actions, big and small, seen and unseen. Think of this when questioning whether to share something on Instagram, challenge or correct a loved one, donate another $5 or show up to a protest. The Black and Brown community is fighting for their lives right now. Our white privilege affords us a choice in the fight. For Black folks, this fight is the only choice. Let's stand with them as their allies, ambassadors, and teammates.
This Thurgood Marshall quote in 1992, 38 years removed from Brown versus Board of Ed in 1954, shows that we have stalled. He could have said this today. I wish I could say that racism and prejudice were only distant memories. We must dissent from the indifference. We must dissent from the apathy. We must dissent from the fear, the hatred, and the mistrust. We must dissent because America can do better, because America has no choice but to do better. That was Thurgood Marshall, July 4th, 1992, the year I graduated from high school and was heading to Middlebury with so much optimism. I chair the board of an organization called Children's Rights. We hold government accountable for keeping kids safe in our very, very broken systems. Our executive director said this week. We will not make progress until we all, and our leaders in particular, recognize that racism is institutional and systemic. The very institutions we have set up to protect the vulnerable can themselves perpetuate racism and generational poverty. I have an ask for all of you, this is now me speaking, as we all have a role to play in making it real. We have learned how to make things real, and it is past time for talk and hope and prayers and Instagram posts. Like, now let's make this shit real, and we all have a part to play. Thanks, Nikki.
To quote from the speech that then Senator Robert F. Kennedy delivered at a park located just 3 miles south of my house in Indianapolis 52 years ago on the night that Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. In this difficult day, in this difficult time for the United States, it is perhaps well to ask what kind of a nation we are and what direction we want to move in. For those of you who are Black, considering the evidence that evidently is there, that with white people who are responsible, you can be filled with bitterness, with hatred, and a desire for revenge. We can move in that direction as a country in great polarization, Black people amongst Black, white people amongst white, filled with hatred toward one another, or we can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand and to comprehend and to replace that violence, that stain of bloodshed that has spread across our land, with an effort to understand with compassion and love. I will just say that I have 3 kids. This week has been super emotional for me. We had protests that went a half mile west of our house to the governor's mansion. People marched 5 miles from the core of downtown that was basically decimated last weekend. And my daughter got her driver's license this week. She's a young white woman. I'm not concerned at all about her driving, but her classmates, many of whom are African American, are also getting their licenses this week and this month. And to listen to my parent peer group express their concerns, especially for young Black men driving around, has really brought things into focus for me. And I guess I would just like to focus on those of us, and there are a lot on this group that are mothers, that this is our opportunity to really inform the younger generation. My kids range in age from 8 to 6.
Yes, thank you. Very well.
Asking me to do a gratitude plank today. I graduated in the class of 1991. I'm truly grateful for all the blessings I've had in my life. Like many of us in this workout, I've been handed every privilege that one can imagine: a supportive family, education, good health, access to resources. Both COVID and the race protests have forced me to think hard about these blessings, the narrative of the American dream, and the idea of a level playing field. I'm grateful that there's a sincere conversation about how the field has never been level and that our fellow community members live in fear. I'm not sure what I will do long term, but one immediate action is to try to purchase from businesses owned by people of color and also elevate stories of women of color in particular. Finally, I'm really grateful that the mayor of DC painted Black Lives Matter right down 16th Street in Washington, DC.
Thank you, Becky.
Total bitch, man. Okay. All right, 60 seconds starts now, y'all. I'm Caroline Kuykendall, class of 2009. I wake up most days and think I'm a good person. At least I try to be. And I think everyone participating this morning does the same. But being good has gotten us here. So I need to be better. We need to be better and make conscious efforts to become a part of the solution rather than remain silent bystanders. I want to continue the progress that our country has made this past week by educating myself, and not just about the history of racism, but what it means to be Black in America. I'm committed to reading their stories and listening to their voices and not shying away from difficult conversations because they're, quote, uncomfortable. The list of books and movies and podcasts on my list is too long for this moment, but I'd love to hear from you about what's on your list, and I'd love to have these discussions with my teammates. Since the 2016 election, I've tuned out domestic politics because I thought it was too depressing. But rather than thinking negatively about the coming election, I'm committed to viewing every election that I can participate in as an opportunity to challenge the status quo and promote social justice reform. So I'm going to vote, and I'm going to bother every single last person I know to vote, and not just in the presidential election, but in all the local and state elections that I can, because it's policies at these levels that are having lasting and detrimental effects on the Black community. Boom, sorry, done.